You see, of course, because of the anger and confusions, things have not been easy. And I've been lampooned like hell for the last one week. Certain things I also have to set the record straight, for example, Dato'. I've been quoted, for example, as saying that Anwar has to be brought to Selangor to avoid an emergency. I did not say that. What I was questioned by a reporter over and over again, in what context is that, given the backdrop of the political and racial politics played by UMNO, in what context can BN and UMNO upset the overwhelmingly two-third majority that Pakatan has in Selangor? Reporters and journalists just still cannot grasp that BN does not follow rules and laws. You know, just because you have two-third majority does not mean that BN will play by the rules. I was pushed and forced to give an example in what circumstances that BN can upset the political stability that there is in Selangor. Hence, I gave an example that while a coalition have a strong mandate from the public, if you allow unrest and demonstrations to continue, if there is an incident, a scuffle, an unrest, a violence that can be used as a pretext by UMNO Barisan Nasional to intervene in the state, given the federal laws that they have, and they have done it in 1977 in Kelantan. Of course, the story came out differently lah. The story came out, as I say, we have to bring Anwar to avoid emergency in Selangor. The context is slightly different. I mean, some people call me and ask clarification, and they say, if that's the context, why don't you call the so-and-so media and tell them to change the story? Now, we can't be like BN. You see, the same media that have been friendly to us, or have been lampooning BN for the last few years, I cannot tell them when they lampoon BN it is okay, when they lampoon and spin our story it is not okay. It cuts both ways. And that's the reason why I don't fix it. And I wait tonight to explain to you, it's just a permutation of events that can happen. Baik. Now, I need about 5 more minutes. Boleh? People say, why do you do this? I mean, why do you drag the AP and PAS and make this unpopular move? PKR has never made a popular move. I think it's because of our unpopular move. To a certain extent, it brings us where we are today. Little do we remember that in 2007, Datuk Sri Anwar, to the disgust and disagreement of almost everyone, including myself, preached to Malaysians that we should put an end to NEP. No Malay political leader has ever said that on record before 2007. It was an extremely unpopular move. It was an extremely risky political stand. And even the non-Malays in PKR says we are really sending ourselves to the gutter by saying this, because the Malays will slaughter us. But it is because of that risk that he took, out of sheer conviction, because of the sincerity to the Malaysians, that the time has come for us to move on and treat everyone equally. I dare say, because of that, finally, I think all of our races can come together and look forward for a promise of better Malaysia. It was a risky stand taken by PKR that was the first to preach for a needs-based policy. I mean, of course, DAP has been talking it for a long while, but it is the first Malay-based, Malay majority party to talk about an end of NEP. If we had not taken that risky move in 2007, 2008 wouldn't have been possible, 2013 would have been possible. So if you are questioning whether it is okay to be unpopular, we are so used to it. It is better to be unpopular if we feel that we are doing the right thing. Of course, only time will tell. But people ask me again and again and again, how is it that Anwar can make a difference? Yes, we have this political attack. We have permutations of events that can really go out of hands that UMNO can take advantage of against Pakatan Rakyat. How can Anwar in Selangor make a difference? Political attacks requires political acumen to deflect it. I used to be the CEO of the Economic Advisor. On weekly basis, Tan Sri Khalid, myself, and Datuk Sri Anwar sit down to go through economic issues in Selangor. I did that for almost 3 years. So I know and I have a high respect for Tan Sri Khalid's business and economic acumen. But this is a different game. It's like if you play a football, you may have the best midfielder, but if your objective is to score a goal, perhaps you should send your best attacker in order to score the goal. If this is a political attack, if everything that UMNO is doing is all political in the next 2-3 years, then you do require a political maestro. And I keep repeating that. Okay, then people say, what's the difference between political maestro and Tan Sri Khalid? After all, he managed to get 2/3 majority anyway. Now, there's a big difference. A political maestro, I think you have to fall back to the question of expertise. Political attack requires prompt political answers. Sometimes political attack requires a counter-political attack. Sometimes political statements require a bold political statements in return. Tan Sri Khalid, being a good manager and of corporate background that he is, perhaps he did not go through the kind of political tribulations that Datuk Sri Anwar has gone through in 40-30 years of public life. That, of course, the way Tan Sri Khalid handled political attack is different from the way Datuk Sri Anwar's handled political attacks. People ask, why do we need him as an adun? Why can't he just continue as economic advisor? Because in order to intervene in matters of Selangor, you need political legitimacy. I can speak about Selangor because I am an MP of Selangor. You can ask YB Tony, you can ask Dr. Zul. In Parliament, if Datuk Sri Anwar stands up and talks about Selangor, BN will hound him and say, who are you? You are RM1 economic advisor. You have no right to speak about Selangor. It's not important to the public, this question of political legitimacy, but it is important for us as politicians. And we want to operate in a different setting than UMNO Barisan Nasional. There is a separate management and leadership for Selangor. The party does not intervene. We never call Tan Sri Khalid and say, please give contract, this, do this and that. We have to convene a meeting, minute a meeting, officially communicate it to our Menteri Besar and say that our political bureau has discussed this and this is our opinion. Whether or not he listens to it, we don't interfere. Because that's what accountability is all about. Now that's why I caution people, if you want us to be different from UMNO Barisan Nasional, don't expect us to operate the way UMNO Barisan Nasional operate. If you want us to be accountable and you want the party to stay out of Selangor, then don't expect Anwar Ibrahim to call and instruct Tan Sri Khalid to do things, because that's not how we do things. If Datuk Sri Anwar wants to have a political say and to engage UMNO directly in the political play in Selangor, out of political legitimacy, we feel we have to have him on the ground at least as an adun. Now, Nabi Dani, Nabi don't worry. People say, then what's next? One of the harshest attack is that, why can't you just say what's going to happen next? Why can't you just say that he's going to be an MB? Why all these long winding explanations? We have a very complex relationship in the state with so many stakeholders. You have the civil servants, you have the palace, you have our partners, you have the public, you have the Malays, you have the Chinese, you have the Indian. And first and foremost, we must win Kajang, because we don't take Kajang for granted. Not even once we think that by doing this, we will be guaranteed of a victory in Kajang. We still have to fight Kajang, and in all probability, with a bloody nose in Kajang. Until we win Kajang, there is no question about what happens next. So we will do things one day at a time, because we have to manage the very complex relationship between the civil servants, the palace, the partners, the public, and so on. That's why I cannot preempt, nor it is wise to preempt what will happen next, because what happens next is predicated on what happens in Kajang on 23rd of March 2014. Baik. I just want to finish with just, I think Dr. Zul perhaps want me to share what really happens, because another harshest critics is about that we don't consult. The whole issue only gathers steam, so to speak, only about 3 weeks ago, when we feel that things are really going out of hands. And we wonder whether do we sit still or we intervene in terms of changing the political landscape. It was made possible suddenly because C.C. Lee, unknown to Datuk Seri Anwar, have confided in some of us, myself included, that he was willing to vacate the seat if that is going to break the impasse. Okay. Different things has to happen one after another before we do the next thing. Now, when C.C. Lee has agreed, it's only then that we sit down, and then the instruction was for us to consult our partners. On 24th of January, I took a flight to Gelang Patah to speak to YB Kit Siang. We discussed about it. We have an initial go-ahead, and it's based on that basis that we feel we have the endorsement of DAP. How the process was communicated and discussed in DAP, perhaps our oversight, perhaps was, it was left to DAP. You know? Likewise, it was communicated through the political secretary of President PAS on Sunday, 26th of January, 1 day before the resignation. It was discussed and communicated again on 27th January, on the day of resignation. And after the resignation at 3 p.m. on 27th January, that night, PAS, as represented by Datuk Mustafa Ali, by Saudara Salihuddin Ayub, and the political secretary of the president himself, had a discussion and consented to the nomination of Datuk Seri Anwar for the Kajang by-election. The next day, Tuesday, 28th of January, we convened a Pakatan Rakyat meeting, and it was formally tabled and discussed and agreed that our candidate will be Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Baik. Could it have been more consultative? It could, but it would have taken longer. We would have, and we know that it was very unpopular, and it requires big belly lah. You know, you really have to stomach the risk. Maybe we don't think that some of our partners will be willing to stomach the risk. I have to be honest about that. That's why after the initial consultation, when we think that we have the initial endorsement, we wanted to do it very quickly for fear that if you delay the process and you go to and fro with too many meetings, certainly things will leak. Nothing in this country that is not leaked, you know. Yeah. Even Rosmah punya cincin pun is leaked. Yeah. So we were very concerned that a longer process will allow for news to go out, and therefore the whole move is no longer a surprise. When it's no longer a surprise, it will not catch UMNO by surprise the way that it did, and it's really not a move, you know, it's just a story by then, you know. And that's the reason why I admit that it did not go through the consultation with the second layer leadership, and and I'm sure PAS and DAP took some time after the resignation to go back and to validate the issues internally after it's been cleared with the party representative before that. So I apologize if that is not consultative enough, but we have to balance between being extremely consultative and making sure that the move actually works. Okay, baik. I think a lot of you are quiet because you are keeping questions to ask later. I just want to end like this, you know. What will happen after this? Is it going to work? Is there a plan B in case we fail in Kajang? Only time will tell. And we don't have a choice. As a party, PKR, we don't have a choice but to go down to Kajang and to meet the public that, as we have been meeting for the last 1 week, and to convince the public and to make sure that we win Kajang. There is no other alternative for us. You may say that it's risky, but that's the way we have been doing things all this while. We have always taken risks by pushing ourselves to the corner because we fight best when we are cornered. You may not like it, but that's how. I understand the anger and disillusionment, and it's good, but I hope you don't fault us for our good intention. Because we can only do the best with the time, with the space, and with the opportunity that are given to us. We don't have much space, we don't have much opportunity, we don't have much time, we think. So that's why now that we have put ourselves in this very risky move, the only way forward for us is to fight, because in case you forget, this is a party that exists on lawan tetap lawan. We will fight Kajang, and we will make sure either way that we'll prevail, because not winning Kajang means perhaps a certain end to a certain thing. So, of course, people say it's easy for you to say you're not standing. But hopefully, I think, as I say, once we go through this very difficult period of explanation and convincing the public, once I think things are more sorted on the ground and in Selangor, hopefully we can look forward to a better things, and we can focus on our mission and quest for Putrajaya now that we are in Kajang, which is only 45 minutes from Putrajaya. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.